Hi folks, I'm going to give you a walkthrough of some of the backend code and how our exposed HTTP API allows people to add records to our database. This would be used by an administrator and is designed intelligently to handle both add and update commands to a certain degree. So right now on the left, you are looking at the Cloud Firestore database. It's a real-time database that we're using to track all of our app data. You'll notice that there are three collections. You can think about those kind of like tables, right? And then documents are the records in those tables. So let's say I'm an administrator and I want to add a new message to our database. There is an API now that allows us to create that message. So a sample message on the right is visible. I'm using curl to just directly send post requests, but this post request API would just be wired up to like a web form or a piece of the application that sends post requests to the database, right? When I send this sucker, you'll see that I get an OK, indicating the creation of a new message. That message is created with a unique identifier, which means that you can create as many messages as you want without ever having namespace collisions. So even if you are sending the same or nearly the same message in terms of content, that doesn't matter. You can rename a thing without overwriting an old user ID or an old message ID, right? This is what that message looks like. Everything came through just right. It was specified in JSON here. And this is obviously a compressed JSON, but a more readable format could be used by the machine if needed. I'm going to take you next over to our profile creation API. This is a very similar look and feel. This API allows actually the sending of GET or POST requests, so there's a little flexibility on the front end side, so long as they follow the documented standards for naming things. When I send this POST request, it similarly adds a new profile, and you see that pop up on the screen. This is our guy, user ID 999. Again, because messages and profiles can be duplicated, one user can have more than one profile that they switch between. These are using unique identifiers. Last stop on this train ride is the user API, which will look very similar, but it behaves a little differently. Because a user should only ever have one user ID, and that is their device identifier, we're actually capturing the device ID and using that as the unique identifier. So you can see a very bare bones user ID profile. Most of the information about the user is actually stored in profiles, which gives us more flexibility. And what's important here is that, let's say Drew changes his name from Cat Stevens to Jusuf Islam. We can change the name, and the user can use the same API call to update an app or update a user that they would have used to create one. That behavior is unique to create users and will not work the same way with messages and profiles. All of this stuff is being run by Google Cloud Functions. We have a bunch of functions implemented and available to request. Thanks, I hope that was clear and not too detailed, but if it was, my apologies. I hope you enjoyed.